All right, what's poppin', everybody? Welcome back right here at the FNB App Academy 2025. I am your host. My name is Karabo Mohole. I'm thrilled to be part of this beautiful ecosystem that is all about launching amazing app developments right here at the FNB App Academy. All right, so this is the intermediate phase, and the previous session was covered by Huda all the way in our Cape Town studio. She focused on data management and analysis. And of course, today we'll be looking into business development for all of you app developers. But before we get into that, let us meet the guys behind the People's Choice Award at the 2024 App of the Year.
MyNetstar 2.0 is the latest version of the app, and it allows a user to track their asset on a mobile interface. It empowers them and it protects them. I totally underestimated the effort and the work that goes into app development. The app was launched in May, and since then we've iterated and we've developed and refined it as we went along. So I'm very pleased with where we are right now, and I'm looking forward to what we do in the new year.
All right, beautiful stuff. Like he said it, app development is hard work. Don't underestimate it. All right, guys, so we'd love to hear from you guys on social media, so keep engaging and talking to us on social media. Don't forget to hashtag FNB App Academy. With that being said, let us see what you guys have been up to on social media this week.
Hi, I'm Mercy. And a few months ago, I didn't know anything about coding. But today, I'm building real projects and I'm loving each and every moment of this journey.
This has been the best decision of my life because of not only have I been able to level up in terms of mindset as a future techpreneur, I have managed to actually build apps using HTML and CSS. The nice thing about it is you can actually learn at your own pace.
I still remember how proud I felt when I built my very first web page. That moment changed everything for me.
And for me, it's more than just building an app or whatsoever. For me, it's about a young South African building real futures, one line of code at a time. And at this point, I am completely persuaded that your future does not just happen. Your future is built. Nonetheless, about the FNB App Academy, from me, that is it. I will definitely keep you in the loop, but that will probably be towards the end. Bye.
All right, cool. Always amazing to see your guys' reaction on social media. We can never get enough of it right here at the App Academy. So please keep posting, keep engaging, and let us keep building traction on social media, letting people know what this space is all about, the FNB App Academy. All right, guys, so this is the time where we jump into today's lesson, right? All the way from our Durban studio, our good friend, Bilal Katrada, he'll be taking us through business development. Over to you, sir.
Hello and welcome to my lecture on business development. Now, there's something you'll hear me saying quite often. And in fact, if you look at my WhatsApp profile, it says it right there. Don't build apps, solve problems. Now, today, I'm going to solve a major problem for you aspiring app developers and expert app developers. But before I go there, I want to tell you a story. Not long ago, I was asked in a conference that I attended what I think the townships of the future will look like. And so I thought about it, and the answer I gave them is the same answer I'm going to give you. To me, the townships of the future are going to be tech hubs. They're going to be places where you can walk in and you can find people offering tech services both locally and internationally in pretty much everything you can think of. Whether it's web design, software development, copywriting, graphic design, video editing, audio editing, you name it, digital marketing, no matter what services you are looking for, you will find it in the township of the future. And typically what you're going to find is that there will be little hubs where people get together to work, co-working spaces in the townships, where you'll get a group of 4 or 5 people working together to solve specific problems for their clients. So for example, in that group, you'll get a coder, you'll get a web designer, you'll get a copywriter, you'll get a graphic designer, you'll get a photographer, and a copywriter, all working together to solve the same problem. So a client comes up to them and says, hey, you know what? I need a website. Now, when you're building a corporate website, you need all of these skills. Of course, there's the one more person that I didn't mention, which I will come to later, that X person. So all of these young people will be working together collaboratively to develop that website. Now, what is the value of this? What is the future of something like this? Is it even viable? Is it even practical to think about? Well, let's think about it like this, and I'll give you an example. I have a student who lives in Australia now, a graduate of IT Varsity, who, while he was working in Durban, he was doing web design for a church in the US. And he was earning $1,000 a month for maintaining that website. It wasn't a lot of work, and it wasn't a full day's work, but $1,000. Now let's look at the current exchange rate. I think it's about 1:18, 1:19. $1 is to about 19 rands. So if one person can earn $1,000 a month, let's take a township like Soweto or Umlazi in Durban, which are huge, which are absolutely huge. But let's take either one of them. Let's say in any one township, there are 1,000 young people who are offering IT services globally. And they are each earning $1,000 a month, which means collectively they will be earning $1 million a month. So every month, $1 million is being brought into that township economy. Over a period of 1 year, and you can pull out your calculator and do the math, over a period of 1 year, that will multiply to almost $250 million rands coming from outside of the country into the township economies. Now, why this is so great, and why do I keep saying coming into the township economies? I'm saying this because there's a very big contrast here between what these people will possibly be doing and what currently happens in South Africa. Now, what currently happens is you get a person who leaves the township to go into the city to get a job as a software developer, an app developer, you name it, any number of jobs that he can do. So when this person leaves the township, he goes there, and typically they will start living in those areas where they work or close to those areas because they will be able to afford it. So what exactly happens? You've taken the talent out of the township. Whatever this person is earning, he's spending in the area that he's living in. He goes to the shops there, the supermarkets there, he buys it there. So the township has just been deprived of a valuable income source, a valuable resource. But with these kids working in the townships, rather than the money going out of the townships, the money will come into the townships. And $250 million rands a year, which means every 4 years, they'll be bringing $1 billion rands into that economy. Now imagine how this group of people can transform the economy of the township completely with $1 billion rands every 4 years. That this is how the economy of townships will improve. This is how we will eradicate in the long run the youth unemployment in South Africa. Because unfortunately, that's the one thing we are number one at in the world, which is unemployment. And we need to change this. And it's you guys who can change it. But the first thing you need to change is your mindset. Get out of the employment mindset into the employer mindset. Get out of the mindset that I'm going to look for a job and get into the mindset that I'm going to be a businessman and I'm going to outsource my skills, not in South Africa, but all over the world. And I'm going to push myself. And I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying it's possible. It is possible because I've got students, I've got graduates who have done this. It is possible for me to go out there and earn $1,000 a month. And that's still modest. I mean, with the skills that you are getting in the App Academy, you can easily earn 50, 60,000 rands a month. I know a lot of you are concerned about certificates, you're concerned about NQF, but you don't understand. The IT industry has moved away from qualifications a long time ago. What you are talking about is 1990s stuff, when qualifications were still important. Today, it's about the skills. Today, it's about showing what you are able to do rather than the fact that you have a piece of paper. It's not that anymore. The tech industry is all about what you can deliver. And I'll give you an easy example for that. If I need a website developed for my business and I have sitting in front of me a person with a master's degree in computer science and a person who is a self-taught web designer. Master's degree tells me I've never developed a website, but give me 6 months and I can learn. I will boot him out of the door. But that person who has no qualifications, but who has developed websites, shows me, see, this is website number 1, website number 2, website number 3 that I've built. To me, immediately I can see skill. To me, immediately I can see the solution to my problem. I don't have 6 months. My website needs to get done now. I have business objectives. So I don't have 6 months for that guy to learn on my dollar. But this guy who's got the skills, I'm going to hire him immediately and I'm going to give him the job and he's going to develop my website. How do I know that? Because he has developed websites in the past. So it's all about your skills. So coming back to the mindset shift that South African youth need. The mindset shift that we need is to come out of the employee mindset into the entrepreneur mindset. And this is what is required. I promise you, and there's good news and there's bad news around this. Let's start with the bad news. The bad news is clearly the global formal employment sector is on a decline. Jobs are getting less and less. But the good news is, and this good news far outshines the bad news, is that it has never been easier to be an entrepreneur. To work in your own hours, to work in your own time, and to earn potentially unlimited income. Think about it. And I'm going to conclude this introduction on this point here. This very, very important point, which is this. As an employee, let's say you are an expert web designer. You go and work for a company, you're earning 15, 16, 20,000 a month. That's a cap. The only time you will ever increase that is if your company chooses to give you a raise. If you don't get that raise, you're stuck right there. As compared to the person who decides, look, I'm not going to work for anybody. I'm going to offer my web design services to the industry. So this person designs a website. The website costs 5,000-6,000 rand to build. So the person immediately makes 6,000. But that's not where it ends. Where it continues after that is when you offer the company a retainer. And you say to them, look, I've developed this website, but who's going to maintain it? Who's going to upload content? Who's going to upload your stocks? Who's going to do your marketing? Who's going to do your copywriting? Of course, you're going to need graphics. You're going to need to put out banners on social media. You're going to need to create content. Let me do that for you. And so you bring that work in. And you charge them, say, 4,000 rands a month. 4,000 rands a month to do all of that. In fact, that's too cheap, right? Now, the more clients you can get, the more money you will earn. So if you're earning 4,000 rands and you can manage 10 clients, that's 40,000 rands. If you can manage 20 clients, let's say you bring in some interns, you bring in some employees and they work for you. Now you can multiply the amount of work you can offer. So you can go from 40,000 to 80,000 to 100,000. There's no limit. It's all about how hard you want to work and how much of work you want to take up. And who's going to tell you, work at this place? Who's going to tell you, wake up every morning, jump in a taxi, jump in a train, and go to work and pitch up every day? No one's going to tell you that because you're an entrepreneur. The companies you are working for are only holding you accountable for deliverables, not for your time. So the company is getting the work out of you. They don't care you did the work in 1 hour or 2 hours or 10 hours. They don't care that you worked in your township or you worked on the beach or you worked on the top of a mountain. They don't care that. It gives you the freedom and the flexibility to work where you want, when you want, the hours that you want. Now, I hope I have sold you the idea of entrepreneurship as compared to employment. Too many of you young people think about employment. I want you to start thinking entrepreneurship. And today's lecture is going to explain to you in detail how to get into entrepreneurship. I'm going to give you 3 steps. So here we go. The first step in starting a business is to get to know yourself, because your business is an extension of yourself. And you guys are what I like to call Generation Y, as in the word Y, W-H-Y. In other words, you people, the people born after a certain year, are very passion driven. You can't, or you find it difficult to do anything unless you find deeper meaning in what you do. And when you find that deeper meaning, then you are an unstoppable force. So it's important, first and foremost, to get some self-awareness, to understand who am I and what are the things that are important to me, and then to develop your business around that. Let's take a young person. She's a web designer, she's an app developer, and she wants to start a business. But deep inside her, she's very concerned about the state of the earth's ecosystems. She's concerned about climate change. She's concerned about pollution. She's concerned about extinction of species. All of these things have to do with people being irresponsible. Now, if that's what she's passionate about, then the beauty of technology is that she can apply that technology into an industry that deals with that. So, for example, she can offer her services to a non-profit that's focusing on conservation, for example, or on tourism. And South Africa is a beautiful country with lots and lots of beautiful places that I've been to so many countries and I've never seen such natural beauty as I see in South Africa. So she can promote tourism so that money coming in from tourism can be used and spent into conservation programs. So there are so many ways that she can contribute to what she's truly passionate about using her technology skills. Let's say another person is all about ending unemployment or all about helping small businesses. And I'll give you a good example. Here in KZN, you get these people that make these beautiful, absolutely beautiful, intricate jewelry out of glass beads. And they stand outside some tourist hotspots, maybe on the street somewhere, and they sell these items. Now, a couple of times I walk past this and I look at these people, how hard they work. From early in the morning, they come with their sacks, they offload, they display their tables, and they stand there selling their stuff. And they rely on passing traffic for them to make an income. And I think about it, that these people are standing in the sun the whole day and they are doing business like this. And the amount of money that they are selling these things for is not a reflection of the work that goes into it, the effort that goes into it. What they could do, and this is where my mind goes as an entrepreneur. See, an entrepreneur sees solutions where others see problems. So my mind goes to, imagine if this person took photos of these items and put them on Instagram and marked them up and then started selling these items in the global market, not in rands, but in dollars and in euros. Because I've seen that. If you go onto certain websites, you'll see they are selling this jewelry for multiples, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 10 times the price that the person on the street is selling. So why should they go through the middleman? Today, with nothing more than a cell phone, you can start a business. Now, one of you who is a web developer, an app developer, you are getting the most valuable skills in the world through this App Academy. What if you go to a group of these people and say to them, see, I will help you. I will help you launch your businesses into the global arena, and I will help you to earn in dollars. You see this item you're selling for 20 rands? I will make sure that you're earning 100 rands from this. So you take the products and you put it on social media, or better still, you create an app of your own, and through that app you sell these items and you make a global business out of it. You keep a percent for yourself, obviously, for all the effort you are making. In that way, you are empowering yourself, you're starting a business, but you are also empowering these poor, impoverished, highly talented human beings who are so good at what they do, but not particularly good at selling their stuff. You see, an entrepreneur sees opportunities where others see problems. So now, what exactly are you passionate about? That's the big question, because unfortunately, you go to school for 12 years and university for another 4 or 5 years, and you come out not knowing the most important thing, which is, who am I? Because every decision you make is an extension of who you are. The type of business you start, the type of job you take, the type of person you marry, the type of house you buy, the type of car you buy, these are all extensions of yourself. And if you don't really know yourself, you're going to make a mistake. That's why you hear so many people saying, I got this job, it pays well, but I hate it. I don't like what I do. I hate what I do. Or I've gotten married and I think I've made a mistake here. You see, the trouble is you didn't know yourself. And so because you didn't know yourself, you didn't know the type of business that you should be starting, or the type of job you should be getting into, or the type of company that you should be working for. I know this is all very deeply philosophical stuff. There's a lot of psychology here, but it's a fact. We are human beings. We are psychological beings, and a lot of what we do depends on who we are. So the first thing that you need to do is to get some self-awareness. Do some self-introduction. As you can see in this first slide, some self-reflection. Take a walk with a pencil and a paper. Leave the phone one side and just take a walk somewhere. Spend some alone time with yourself and try and answer this question. What am I truly passionate about? What are the things that matter to me in the world? What are the problems that I see around me that I would love to solve? And there are lots of problems. Africa has lots of problems, but in Africa's problems are opportunities also. Opportunities to solve those problems and start businesses around that. Once you have that, that's the hardest part. The next part is very easy. You take these passions that you have and you go to AI. You go to DeepSeek or ChatGPT and you say, you prompt it in this way. I am passionate about X, Y, and Z. What career options are there for me? And then it will give you all those options and you will be shocked. Let me give you some examples. Let's start with my own example. I am passionate about technology. I've been a coder since 8, 9, maybe 10 years old when I got my first computer. But I realized later on in life, while I was studying, I did some teaching. I realized that I'm very passionate about teaching also. I love developing human beings. But then I also realized that there's something that eats away at me constantly, which is the poverty and unemployment in my country. So when I take these three and I put them together, let's say I had to put them into an AI, into DeepSeek, and say, I'm passionate about technology, I'm a coder, I'm an app developer, I'm also passionate about teaching, and I'm also passionate about uprooting poverty and unemployment in my country. What career options are there for me? Guess what it would say? It would say, teach people how to empower themselves and start businesses, which is what I am doing. IT Varsity is an extension of my passions. Somebody asked me one day, if you had to sell your business for $1 billion, what would you do? I say, I would teach people to code and to start businesses and to empower themselves. So I would go back right to where I started. Now, it might seem obvious in retrospect, but there are so many different passions that you may have that are completely different that you can't seem to figure out. Thankfully, we are living in the age of AI, and the AI can help you with this. So there was a youngster at one of the schools that I spoke at. When I asked him the same question, what are you passionate about? So the guy said, I'm passionate about video games. Everybody started to laugh because what can you do with video games? You can't earn money playing video games. But their view on video games was very limited. Because when I took that and I put it into the AI and I prompted the AI to give me career options, there were at least 15 to 20 highly lucrative career options that the person could do as a game developer. What about as a game developer and an entrepreneur? You can start your own indie game, create your own indie game, put it on the market and become a billionaire, like the guy that created Minecraft. So whatever your passions are, don't be afraid. This is a very personal thing. You don't even have to tell others about it. Take that, put it into the AI and look at the ideas it gives you. Now from those ideas, all you need to do is to choose the one that will work for you. And that's where we come to the next step, which is idea validation. How do you validate this idea? How do you know that this idea is a good idea, is a good business idea or not? You could come up with an idea that you are passionate about, but it doesn't really make business sense because nobody is going to buy your stuff. Nobody's going to pay you for your services. So you need now to look at those ideas that the AI gives you and start validating those ideas. Now, what does it mean to validate your ideas? It means you take the idea and you compare it with industry. You see, are there others in the world around me who would pay for this idea, who would pay for this solution? Are there others who are already doing it? And can I improve on it? So for example, when I was starting IT Varsity, I asked myself, my solution is to teach people how to code. So I will make courses. Are there people willing to pay for courses? Yes. Are there other companies that are doing? Are there other schools that are doing this? Yes. Can I improve on the way they are doing it? Yes. So I answered yes. So the more yeses you get, the better it is. So you know your idea is being validated. The next thing as part of your validation that you're going to do is look at the size of the market. Is there a market big enough? In other words, are there enough people that when you sell, you can make a good, decent income? As compared to, let's say you came up with an idea that applies to 3 people only. How are you going to make money out of 3 people? But if your idea appeals to 3,000 people, better still to 3 million people, then you know you've got a massive market size. So the fact that somebody is willing to buy it and enough people are willing to buy it and at a price that can make you some money, you've got yourself a good business idea. Go with that idea. Next, you get into planning. Now you start putting together your business plan. A business plan is not complicated. It's a very simple thing. It's basically describing what the problem is, what is your solution to that problem, how much you're going to charge for that solution, and who you're going to sell it to. Simple as that. So business plan is not that difficult. Now there's no time to get into how to write a business plan. We can get into that at a later stage. Okay, so once you've got your business plan, the next thing is to finally set up your business. Enough planning, enough talking, get into it. Entrepreneurship is all about action. So you register your business. Obviously, you give it a name, register it, give it a branding from the earliest stage. Open up a bank account. Don't think for a moment that, there's no business really existing here. I'll worry about these things later. No, don't do that. I'll tell you why. For 2 reasons. One is credibility. If you are offering your services to a company and they see, hey, this guy's got a registered business and a bank account and an email address and a business phone number and a business WhatsApp, it makes you look professional. Versus you go there and your Gmail is bilal123@gmail.com. They're going to look at this and say, hey, whoa, this is not even a business email address. It's a personal email address. See how unprofessional that looks. So that's the first reason, to make you look professional. But the second reason, and the more important reason, is when you have a registered business and you have your bank account and you have your branding and you have your marketing materials ready, it motivates you. It puts you into a different mindset, because at that point, never mind you never sold a thing, never mind you don't have a single client, but you look at these documents and you realize, I have a fully fledged living, breathing business. And that's half the battle won. Just that mindset is more than enough. So that's now phase 1 of starting a business. Let's get into phase 2. Okay, so you've got your business plan. You know what you're going to sell. You know who you're going to sell it to. You know how much you're going to sell it for. The trouble is, you know all these things, but no one else. The world doesn't know about it. It's in your mind. It's on that piece of paper. That's your business plan, which is fantastic because now it's real. It's no more in your head. It's existing in the real world, even though it's a piece of paper. But your next challenge comes in as an entrepreneur. How do you take that idea and put it in front of the people who will pay you for that idea? How do you take that solution and put it in front of those people who are going to pay you for it, or that product? That is what marketing is all about. Marketing is not difficult. Marketing is actually fairly simple if you know the basic underlying principles of marketing. When we talk about marketing, most people will jump straight into digital marketing. They'll jump straight into making a little banner or a little post to put on Instagram. But that's not marketing. Marketing, remember this, is about communicating effectively. Communicating what? Communicating who you are, what the problem is, what your solution is, and what is the value you are giving. So this example I've used in the past, right? And I'm using it again. Let's say you see a person with their head on fire. So what is your marketing strategy to that person? Are you going to go up to that person and say, look, I've got this water, which is very high quality water. It's from the mountains of Switzerland. It's got this number of nutrients, chemicals, ions, etc. I don't even know what goes into water. Is that going to be your marketing pitch? Is that person even going to understand what you are talking about? No, they're not going to understand. They're going to be like, pH, what is this pH nonsense? I don't even know what this is. But if you went to that person alternatively and you said to them, see, dude, your head is on fire. And they felt it and say, whoa, my head is on fire. What do I do? So he said, you say to them, well, I can help you with that. I can extinguish that fire. So they said, how? What's your solution? And you say, I got this water. Just pour it on your head and it'll put out that fire. This water is $50. So they'll take the water, they'll pay you $50, they'll put out the fire. Now that is marketing. Marketing is not about fancy talk. Marketing is definitely not about your product. It's not about you. It's about the customer. It's about the problem they have and the solution that you are offering them. Think about it. Any person that buys anything, whether it's a product or a service, is solving a problem. Whether you buy a course or you buy a cell phone or you buy clothing, you're solving a problem for yourself. And those people who can effectively show the customer base that here is your problem, here is my solution. That's not half your battle won, but 90% of your battle won. Because if you can communicate that effectively enough, then people will pay you what you're asking for. How much they pay you or how little they pay you has a direct link to how effective your message is. Not to how good your product is, not to who you are, but how effective your message is. And that you see more than anywhere in these expensive brands of clothing and luggage that you get. So I was in Malaysia recently and Singapore and Doha, and everywhere you go, airports, fancy shopping malls, you'll see the same brands over and over again, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, etc. And you'll get this shop that's empty, completely empty. They've just got one shelf and a few items on that shelf. But when you go inside there, you get the shock of your life. You'll get a cap that's like a few thousand rands. I saw laptop bags that were like 20,000 rands. And I thought to myself, who buys this stuff? And more importantly, how do they convince people to buy this stuff when everybody knows that this stuff is made in China for a fraction of the price that they are selling it for here? Look, let's say you buy a handbag for 10,000 or 12,000 rands, and those things go for that price. How is it functionally better than the handbag that a person buys for 200 rands? There's no functional difference. I mean, it's a different thing if you buy a phone for 600 rands and a phone for 10,000 rands. You're getting performance improvements, you're getting a better screen, you're getting, I don't know, more capabilities, more apps. So you can see a difference there. But when you look at two handbags, there's no functional difference. So how do they justify those prices? And more importantly, how do they get people to buy those things? And the answer is simple. It's the stories they tell. Because on one wall of that same store, you'll get an influencer or a movie star or a sports person that is standing there smiling with that watch. Look at me. My name is so and so. I'm successful. Look at the watch I got. So they'll have James Bond, for example, with the fancy watches he wears. Now people will look at that, and because they hold those characters in high esteem, there's something in their hearts that say, I want to be a little more like this person. And because they are using that brand, I'm going to use that brand. See, it's the story that they are telling. It's the problem that they are solving. So what problem are they solving? This person has a bit of a low self-esteem. This person wants to feel more pride in themselves. They want to feel like they're worth something. They want to show that they have substance, that they have money. So these people say, come, we can help you solve that problem. Agree with me or not? I know I can be hard sometimes, but that's the fact of it. It's all psychology. So the story they're saying is that this successful person is wearing this or carrying this, so you should, and then you will feel as successful as them. So people go and they buy those things. Crazy stuff, crazy prices, but they buy it. So it's more to do with the story that you tell. So remember, your marketing strategy has to revolve around the story that you tell. But let's look at a complete marketing strategy. The first thing has to do with product development. Now, what has a product got to do with marketing? Trust me, it has everything to do with marketing, because the way that you package your product, the way that you present your product is also telling a story. Remember, these are visual communications. These are not necessarily verbal communications. Sometimes visual communications are more powerful than verbal communications. And I'll give you an example. I went to a wedding and they served cupcakes, and each cupcake came in its own clear plastic container. Beautifully shaped plastic container that was shaped just like the cupcake. So the cupcake fitted into the base, and there was a dome on the top that they clipped on top, and that cupcake was inside there. I opened it. I said to myself, well, this must be a very special cupcake to come presented in such a beautiful way, like a bride, like a bride on her wedding day. I took a bite of that cupcake and I got the surprise of my life. It was an ordinary cupcake. There was nothing fascinating about it. There was nothing different about it. There was nothing special about it. It was an ordinary cupcake that my mom makes at home. But that plastic container gave me a different story. It gave me a sense that I'm getting a premium product here. I'm getting something that is of high value, something that was made with love and care. And that's the whole idea. Because I asked somebody, how much did this cost? And it was 10 times the price of a normal cupcake. So you could put those normal cupcakes into a normal baker's box and sell them for 10 rands, but put them into those plastic containers and you can sell them 10 rands each. That's the difference. You see, the way you package your product, the way you present your product, and all the big companies know it. That's why Apple uses such beautiful boxes when they sell their products. So remember that. The next thing is your marketing collateral. You need to set up marketing collateral, which is your branding, your banners, your pamphlets, your brochures. Again, you have to think about these very carefully. Go to experts and help them, or ask them to help you to formulate these things, because the story you tell is very, very important. Next, you create a marketing plan. Basically, the marketing plan is going to be your guide. Who you're going to sell to, how you're going to sell to them. It's very, very important. Your marketing plan is what keeps you on track. It's what keeps you from running to every shiny thing. It keeps you focused, and that's very, very important, as you see as an entrepreneur. Next, you need to consider content marketing, because content marketing is big. I'm a big proponent of content marketing. I think pretty much all the marketing we do at IT Varsity is content marketing. We give content away for free. We give value away for free. And then people get to know our brand. They get to know the quality that our brand stands for, and they come and they purchase our paid courses. And finally, you set up your marketing channels. Now that you got your plan, now that you've got your collateral, and you've got your content, where are you going to post it? Now, the answer to that is simpler than most people think. Some people think that I need to post everywhere, on every platform out there. Listen, you're going to frustrate yourself if you did that. Rather, you get to know your customers and understand where they are. Sometimes your customers are on social media, sometimes they are not. That's a reality. Sometimes they are on certain social media and not others. There are people who are still very loyal to Instagram and will not even look at TikTok. There are others who are on YouTube and never go to any of the other social media. You need to understand your customers and focus on the platform where they are and the type of language they speak and the type of things that appeal to them. If you're talking to mums, for example, then what appeals to mums? Anything to do with their children appeals to them. Anything to do with their families appeals to them. If you're talking to business people, then you are talking a different language. If you're talking to young people, teenagers, you talk a different language. You can't use teenage language to talk to a business person, to a CEO. You can't make a video that says, hey bro, what's up? Let me tell you what's the latest. You can't talk like that. It's more formal. You need to be more formal with a business person. So understand these things, choose your platform wisely, and get going. Don't waste any time. Get going, get started. Get over yourself, get out of your head. Stop being afraid and put yourself out there. It's scary, I know, but the rewards are there. Now let's get into the third phase in setting up your business. Before we get into phase 3, I want you to imagine something. I want you to imagine a guy who goes fishing and he meticulously ties up his bait and hook, sinker, his whole tackle. He casts and he's waiting there now. He's waiting and waiting and waiting. He waits there for an hour, 2 hours, and nothing. And just as he's about to give up, suddenly he feels a huge tug on his rod. And he knows that he's onto something massive. And he's reeling that thing in. Frantically he's reeling. And as he's reeling, he sees that fish that's hooked just suddenly, appears in the waves and goes down again. And as he thinks he's about to get that fish, his reel comes apart in pieces and his rod breaks in two. Now, how frustrating will that be for anybody who is fishing? Now, the similar thing happens in business, and I see this happening a lot, where people will go out and they'll do everything right. They'll set up their businesses, they'll set up their products, they'll set up their marketing. And the moment they start getting inquiries, that's where everything falls apart. Because their sales funnel is not in place. Not only do they set up an incorrect sales funnel, most people don't even know that such a thing as a sales funnel actually exists. And that's a problem. And this is what we're going to discuss now in phase 3. So let's start with a sales funnel. What exactly is a sales funnel? Now, if you know what a funnel is, it's that utensil that you use to pour liquids into a small, thin bottle top. Now, you pour a lot at the top and a little thin stream comes out. So a huge stream, a big volume goes in and a thin stream comes out. Now, in sales, it's a similar situation. What happens is you put your message out to the whole world as far and wide as you possibly can, that your efforts and your budget and your energy can allow you to do. Now, you're putting out that message to a lot of people. And then what happens is, out of those masses, a small number, a tiny number will take notice. So now you already got the semblance of a funnel, from a lot to a little less. Out of those who notice you, there will be a smaller number, a fraction of that original number, who will take the time to reach out to you and say, hey, I saw your stuff, looks interesting, talk to me. How much? Etc. And out of those, even a smaller number, a fraction of that number, will actually go to the stage where they take out the money from their pocket and they pay you for your product or services. So you start with a big number, and with each stage you get less and less people. So you start with awareness, in other words, making the world aware of your products. Next, you get attention. Out of that awareness campaign that you put out, a few people will recognize, they will notice you, so you got their attention. Next is interaction. Now they start interacting with you because they found your story, your product, your service, your solution so compelling that they reach out to you. And then finally you got a win. Green light, the sale, money in your pocket, you're officially in business. Well done. But if that sales funnel is not done properly, then at each stage you are going to lose people. At each stage you're going to be destroying your business. It's like that fisherman with a broken reel and a faulty rod. That funnel, if it's broken, that's going to lead to no sales. And this happens a lot. This happens too many times, where I've experienced it personally, and you've probably experienced it also, where somebody puts out an advert and you make an inquiry and nobody comes back. They just don't respond. And then you inquire again, nothing. You go onto their social media, you look for a phone number, nothing. You go and look for a website, no website. Now for me, those are all red flags that this person is either scamming or not serious about business or just doesn't know how to do business. So remember, it's very, very important. It's crucially important that you examine every stage of your sales funnel and you make sure that it is working perfectly. Otherwise, your efforts are all gone to waste. So, starting with the top of your funnel, attention. In the previous section, we spoke about marketing. We spoke about storytelling. We spoke about solving people's problems. So obviously, this is a continuation of that. That's where this fits in, at the top of your funnel. At the top of your funnel, you are communicating to everyone and anyone who will see your products. But you need to make sure that it will appeal to those people who you are really trying to target. You have to make sure that it speaks their language, as we said earlier. Once you do that, if your message is good enough, people will go to phase 2. If people are not going into phase 2, don't be afraid to keep tweaking your message. That's the beautiful part about business. You don't always come out with the perfect solution to begin with. You have to just keep trying and trying and trying until you get it right. So once you click that correct message, and remember, you're often just one good solid post away from doing a number of sales. We've experienced this over and over again. And you're one viral post away from achieving your dreams. Just remember that. There are lots and lots of examples. So when you get that message right, people will start coming to you and making inquiries. Hey, I saw this video. Hey, I saw this post. Hey, I saw this advert. I'm interested. Right. Now you've got them hooked, because they made an inquiry. The next stage, stage 3, is crucial. It's absolutely crucial, which is how are you going to handle those leads coming in? Because that is where most people make it or break it. So those leads that are coming in are all potentially money in your pocket. Firstly, you need to understand that. Each lead is gold, because everything you've done, everything you've learned, every effort you made has now come to this. And this is gold. This is potentially money in your pocket. So you need to firstly capture those leads. Write them down somewhere. Put them onto a spreadsheet or a CRM system, and then look after them. Because if that person didn't buy or doesn't buy from you today or tomorrow, there's a good strong chance that they're going to buy sometime in the future. Why? How do I know this? From experience. I've seen this over and over again. Sometimes people inquired and only made a purchase a year later or 2 years later. Why? Because we kept the relationship going. We kept the contact going with them. And so they came back and say, we are ready now. And this is a normal thing in business. Don't think this is an anomaly. Don't think that you're going to put out one advert and suddenly you're going to do R1,000,000 in sales. It's not going to work like that. So as the leads come in, first and foremost, you respond as quickly as possible. If you can respond in minutes, great. If not, respond within 24 hours to that person and say, hey, I've received, here's the answer to your question. So that's the first step. The second thing is, if the person doesn't come back to you, it's not the end of the relationship. It doesn't mean they're not interested anymore. It simply means they're busy with something else. They're busy with life. This happens to all of us. Keep that information going. And after 3 or 4 times trying to contact them, put them into a bulk mailing list and then send them regular updates on your products and your services. Because at least you can maybe get through to them indirectly. And if they choose to unsubscribe from your mailing list, well, that's their prerogative. That's the only time when you know for certain that that relationship is ended. Obviously, to put them onto a mailing list, you need their permission. So when they inquire, have a checkbox there that says, I agree to be on this person's mailing list. So now you got that. Now you need to know the art of selling at this point. You need to know the art of negotiating. This is very, very important. A lot of people think that the only thing you're after, or that the customer is after, is low prices. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes I feel embarrassed, and this happens to me a lot. When I go into a store and I ask about something and the guy gives me a price, for example, 150 rands, and I say, okay, thanks. And as I'm walking, he says, okay, take it for 120. I feel very cringy and very embarrassed when they do that. And I say, son, you know what? Don't drop your price. I'm just making an inquiry. I'm doing my homework. But you are bargaining yourself down. I never bargained you down. I never asked you to drop your price. So don't think that price is everything. People want quality. So this is where you put your best foot forward and you put your value proposition forward and you get the people to pay the price that you want. And finally, if you did that right, catching, that's money in your pocket. Those people are going to buy from you. And make sure that when they buy and after they buy, the relationship is still there. Give them service even after they purchased. Don't think to yourself at any point that, okay, this person has bought from me now, I don't care about them. That person, if you look after that relationship, will become your biggest marketer. And this is where it comes to word of mouth marketing, which is the most powerful way of marketing. If you're a web designer and you designed a website for a dentist, for example, and that dentist was so happy with your service that that person became your personal friend, trust me, that dentist is going to go and tell every other dentist in town. And you will soon find yourself in a niche where you are building websites for tooth doctors. So look after your customers even after the sale is done, because those people will become your greatest marketers. Guys, in 3 slides, I've given you all the success secrets to starting and running your own business. So there you have it, all the secrets to starting and running your own business. But remember something, you can do all the business courses in the world. You can get the best advice from the best and most successful business people. You can do an MBA. But the secret to business, the secret to entrepreneurship is 2 things. One is what is inside here. No one can change that besides you. But we can help by giving you the right skills and the right motivation. And I think we've done that here in today's session. I hope it's convinced you that you can do this. You can start a business of your own and that there are opportunities all over if you really look for them. So change that mindset. In other words, have a change mindset. That's what they mean when they say change mindset. It's the fact that, yes, I can have that positive attitude. That's the first. The second thing is you have to be resilient when it comes to a business. Yes, it's not like a job. I mean, you search for a job, you get a job, you get your income. At the end of that month, you're getting an income. And every month you're getting an income. But in business, it's a hunt. It's constantly hunting and getting more clients and getting more clients. So in a way, it's more challenging, but it's also a hell of a lot more rewarding. And I'm going to conclude with these words here, which is this: don't build apps, solve problems. Thank you so much.
All right, awesome stuff right there by Bilal Katrara, taking us through business development. As he said, right, building an app is just the start. But of course, building a business around that is where the real magic happens. Awesome stuff right there by Bilal. Bilal, thank you so much. That's it for today's session right here at the FNB App Academy. This is the end of the intermediate phase. And of course, the next session will be delving into a Q&A and feedback session. Cannot wait to have an engagement with the individuals who are part of this session, just so we can pick their brains on the importance of what we've just shared right here and the power of APIs, right? The intermediate phase was all about APIs. All right, guys, I am your host. My name is Karabo Mohola. Always thrilled and honored to be part of the App Academy. See you guys next time. Peace. you.